Welcome to The Essential Element, the Elements of Education podcast, and we're grateful to be in community with you. If you are not familiar with our podcast, our conversations are truly about changing the face of public education. In our most recent conversation, we talked with our friend Melanie Grassi, who's a community mentor, who finds herself oftentimes in church spaces, who's recently widowed and is ever evolving in her identity and the ways that she moves in the world. And with that ever-evolving nature, still finding ways to mentor, still finding ways to be educated, still finding ways for people to pour into her. And we talked a lot about what mentorship has meant during this time in her life and how she's turned around and shared the same type of mentorship that she's received with mentees in her life. She holds a great position in our community, cares a lot about people, and has even played a significant role in my life when I was younger, which you'll see in a bit of our conversation. And so grateful to welcome Melanie to our podcast. Thank you for being here. And without further ado, here's our conversation with Melanie Grassi.
Our school, we really believe in relationships, and that is emphasized through mentor group. And so I wholeheartedly believe in that.
What do they need? I have to be able to answer that question. And that takes a little bit of time.
The biggest teacher, I think, is failure. The brain works in failure. And those failures are actually synapses rewiring themselves in your brain.
And think about where you want to be. Because when you find your place, you find your people. And our purpose is attached to people.
You know, when there's a phenomenal teacher, when there's a phenomenal educator, when there's a phenomenal mentor, one of the mistakes that we make is we make it look too easy. Like, everyone sees the shining moment on stage. No one sees, right, like the hard time spent. All right. Well, Melanie, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being willing to have a conversation with me. Really excited about it. And, you know, we have a bit of a history, and I don't know that you know, right? But I was a young person navigating a space that was unfamiliar for me. And we may not have had many vocal interactions, but you were always like a kind face that I know I could rely on for a smile. And so it's weird for me, right? Full circle for this coming. Yeah, no problem. I know it's just in your being, right? And so, but I'm excited, right, for us to get to have this interaction today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I love being here. I love everything these schools do. And I'm proud graduate of the first class of SOTA. So I am happy to be here, happy to get reacquainted with you. And I know we have mutual friends now too as adults, and everyone speaks so highly of you. So just know you are held in high regard in this city, which is so important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So for folks who may not know you, right? Who are you? I know it's like the big existential question, right?
Who are we?
You know, just in a small sense, right? Like, who are you? What do you do here? And I know we're human beings and not human doings, right?
Right.
So like, what kind of things do you value? What's important to you? Who's Melanie?
Well, I am Melanie, and I value family, I would say. And I would first start off by saying I'm a mom of two beautiful humans, Rosary, who's just turned 7 yesterday, my daughter, and my son Giovanni is 4. And I'm a recent widow. My husband passed away last year. So I've kind of changed that title from wife to widow. And that's a new journey that we're navigating as a family together. And we live in University Place, and I have the honor of being an executive pastor at our church foundation, which is a church in the city. And then I also oversee our school. It's called the New School at Chambers Bay. So I'm the executive pastor over that endeavor. And we serve children from 6 weeks old to 6 years old. So little people. And I also love serving our community in University Place. I been a resident there for 35 years. And then love the 253 Greater and Beyond, and love serving our community. I serve on the Elements of Education Board here at SOTA and Sammy and Idea. And that's a little bit of who I am. Who I most importantly in that is a mama, and always just trying to get a little better each day, right? We always make mistakes each day, but our goal in my family is we call it a miracle a day. And we believe for a miracle. We are Jesus people, have strong faith, and we believe for a miracle, but not to just make ourselves better, but our city better, our community better. How can we help someone else along the way. Every day I drop off my daughter and say, this prayers, help Rosary to be a helper and a leader and a friend. And it's kind of our goal in our family. So happy to be here.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, so much, right? Like a miracle a day. If you hear me say that somewhere else, I will always give you credit for it.
No, it's really amazing. Because, it's the little things. I think when people think of the word miracle, right, they think of like this big, astounding, like party in the Red Sea or, we move the mountain. But I think everyone has the ability to see the good every day. There's something to be grateful for, whether that's a smile that you needed at the right time or something. And so we don't ever take anything for granted. And especially walking through the last season that we have of losing my husband unexpectedly, life can get dark for people real quick, right? Like everyone has experienced pain. I think 2020 leveled the playing field for everyone. Everyone has a pain. Everyone has a loss. Everyone's lost a business, a dream, a loved one, a marriage, something. And so we all have a pain. And if we can connect with people with their pain and give them a smile, give them a reason to keep going, it's a miracle. So that's what we try to do.
Oh, man. I love your outlook. I love the way that you're wearing, right? Like the way that you show up. Thanks. And I'm really curious about this, right? Because you're navigating a couple of different spaces. But first, my condolences to your family. But navigating that space as a mom, right? You're navigating a role, right, as an executive pastor, and you're also, right, like a part of this family at Elements of Education. Yeah. And I would imagine that the common thread in each of those spaces, right, whether it be a mom, whether it be executive, or whether it be board member, right, is that there's a level of mentorship that exists in the center of each of those things. And so I'm curious, like, what is your relationship to mentorship? What role has it played in your life? What role do you find yourself in as mentor or mentee?
Yeah, I love the idea of mentorship, because for me, I would not be where I'm at today. Not that I've arrived or anything, but everything that I am grateful for, I can point back to the role of a mentor, someone that's gone before me and said, hey, I'm going to help bring you along. I'm going to deposit in you. I'm going to encourage you. It really started with John Kettler founding the school. And I showed up on the last day of the last interviews. I was the last slot. And it was saying, I remember he saw me at the door and said, no, come on in, let's do this. And experiencing mentor groups as a high schooler, that was an eye opener for me, that it wasn't just a transactional, here's your teacher, this is what you're doing, and you get a grade or not. Then you have this relationship aspect, which filled in that gap that you're trying to navigate as a young person, right? You're trying to figure out, what do you want to do after this? How are you going to, but you had someone that cared about you, the human, and saw Melanie as the person, and wasn't just about, hey, what's the next paper due? And that was huge. And I think that really created a foundation for me of not only the gift that having a mentor was, but also what I wanted to do in my next season. And so then as I went into my more adult years and profession, pastors ahead of me really brought me along and said, what do you want to do? Like, what do you love to do? And then they said to me, how can you make that function in this workspace? Figure out, Melanie, what you love to do. And then for me, it was figure out what you love to do, and then how can you do it for the kingdom of God? Because again, I'm in the faith space. And so that really was liberating for me. And I think really great mentors see you and say, okay, how can we elevate you? How can we open the box? How can we take you out of a box? How can we look at you, Christian? How are you uniquely designed? And how can we spread those wings to bless other people, to bless your community, to enhance your future family? And that's what really mentors did for me all along the way. And they said, yes, that's an idea. Let's explore that. Maybe that's not a good idea or not. Because the value is, once you accept a mentor into your life, you have to take the good and the bad. Like you got to trust what they're saying, that they're for you, and that they believe in you, but they also can speak truth. And I believe highly in mentors speaking the truth in love. That has to be there. You can't have the truth spoken open to you and just not receive it well. But if they say to me, Melanie, this isn't, like, pause on this, okay? This isn't a good idea. There's those people, those voices that you carry with you. And now, as a widow, I'm in this new space of I'm searching out people. 2 weeks ago, I was in Portland and I was sitting across from a beautiful woman. She had lost her husband 4 years ago, and now she's remarried. She has a new baby on the way. And I said to her, what do I need to know about this season? Because I looked at her and she has she's ahead of me. She's 2 years ahead of loss for me. She has another marriage. She's bringing a new life. What can I learn from you in this season? Because your desire and your need for mentorship changes. It goes from school to then the next level of schooling maybe, or your job, your profession. Then it goes to who can be a mentor in your family life, who can mentor you to be a good partner to your person, who can mentor you to be a good parent. And then life happens and you think, oh, now I need a widow mentor, and I've been seeking those out because I want to be the best mother as a widow to my children as I can be. I want to be the best pastor in this new season as I can be. And so there are pastors that are ahead of me that have brought me under their arms where I learned from. Now there are widows, there are mamas that I look to, there are community leaders that I look to because I really desire to be a voice in this community and really make a difference. So it's finding what I love, what I want to do, and then finding who's doing that really great and asking them to be a part of it.
And I love that. I love mentorship sandwiches.
That's good. Yeah.
You should always have, a mentor or someone who's pouring into you, and then maintaining the relationship of having a mentee with you. I love so much of what you said, and it reminds me of this thing my mom would share with me all the time. It's a bit of a preamble for the next question. It's like, like purpose is inflatable.
It's good.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
good.
when you get like a package or something in the mail, and like once it reaches that size, like it can no longer go back in the box, like what you were saying.
Yeah.
And I'm curious for you, I guess, two things, right? Is one, is there a watershed moment that you knew, like, oh, this isn't going back in the box, like this is Melanie.
Yeah.
I got it. And then the second is like really this balance that I hear you naming of like, I'm confident enough or know that I know enough. Like, I love how you said I haven't arrived. I'm confident enough to know that I have enough to give to someone, but I'm humble enough to know that there's someone who can teach me.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, two parts, right? Like one, is there a moment that you knew it wasn't going back in the box? And two, how do you hold that tension between confidence and humility to make sure you can be teacher and teachable?
Yeah. Good question. You're so great at that. This is a lot of pressure. I think watershed moment, the moment that I realized I had to keep breathing in this. And again, I kind of feel like this renaissance moment for me the last a little over 12 months of my husband passing away, because I did see myself for so long as this business person with my husband, with my family, and now it's like everything shifted. And so a couple mornings after he passed away, and I'm now with my two children, and they're breathing and they're going, and they're grieving, but they have a full life to live. And I'm grieving, but I have a life to live. And so it's the idea of you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your child when you're on the, I had to realize, okay, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep breathing for these children. And we've got to now navigate this new life together. They're not going to feel okay if they see mom falling apart. So I'm going to do my best to be able to be, not all that I have it all together, but I've got to do my best to make sure that I have the oxygen mask on and I'm breathing for them. So how can Melanie do that? And for me, I have loved serving other people. That's been at the core of who I am. And so I love to, solve people's problems. I love to give them an answer. I love to serve them. I love to see how can we make that better. And I decided, okay, this is now in my purpose. It has now been grafted in to say, okay, how can I help other women? How can I help other women with their pain? Maybe it's not losing a husband, but maybe it's losing a business. Maybe it's losing a dream. Maybe, because I know now really well what it's like to lose. I lost my father, who was my mentor, my best friend, my pillar, 4 months before I lost my husband. So it was really saying, okay, you've lost all these giants that are ahead of you. And now you're kind of just on your own, kind of feeling like, I know that I'm not on my own. I have a wonderful family and community, but how can my purpose now is to help others say that they can still live through pain, and then have my children have something to watch for. So that was what I'm now purpose. The second part of your question was bringing people along, or no, or needing.
Living in that balance, the
Yeah.
confidence and humility.
Gosh, you got that every day. Every day there's something to be humble about, because you need a new miracle for yourself, for your family, for your kids. There's something that you don't know. And I think that it's dangerous to say, well, just live off what I've gotten yesterday. Like, you can't live off the food you ate yesterday. You can't live off the water you drank yesterday. You need fresh food, fresh water that is stagnant. If you're on a hike, that's not the water that you're drinking. You want to find moving water that has to stay fresh and always moving. And that's what we need to do too. And world changes on a dime.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that I can't be the best mom. I can't be the best pastor. I can't be the best supervisor if I'm resting on what I did yesterday. Just before I walked in here, I was on a call with an employee, and I had sent them an email, and in my thought process was a very complimentary, let's build you up kind of email. And that the employee was in tears on the phone because she didn't feel valued enough. And so I had to again say, okay, Melanie, you've been supervising people for 10 years plus, but still you missed the mark on an email, and still that employee doesn't hear your heart. So I had to humble myself and say, I'm sorry. Tell me where I missed the mark. Where aren't you hearing me that this, and this, and this? What did I say that didn't come across? I want to know, because I do value you. And so it's what, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I've already missed the mark. So I need to go back to the basics and say, okay, how can I communicate better as a leader? And there only can do that through mentorship. I can only go to people that have gone before me. We run a school, like I said, and when we opened the school, I knew nothing about early childhood care. We knew that we wanted to do it. So I found a woman who owns 7 child care centers in the area. She's been doing it for 20 years. I called her. I said, I know we don't know each other, but I've heard you're great. I've heard your business is great. Would you meet with me? And it is so, it's an honor to the leader to be, recognized as someone that's gone ahead. 9 times out of 10, they say yes. And she and I met for coffee, and we had 3 hours of me asking her every question. And now she is one of the first calls I make when I have a question. She's a dear friend, and she's bringing me along, because I did not know anything. I know more than I did 3 years ago. But her wisdom of 20 years of it and 7 childcare centers is invaluable. So, you learn by falling down, but you got to get back up.
Yeah. I hear you naming a lot about being student in this season of your life. And I know it's authentic, right? Because of what you've shared up until this point. I wonder about places where you have found yourself as teacher or mentor in this season, and what are lessons maybe that you've learned in your youth, right, that you've been able to impart to young people who are looking to you for mentorship?
Yeah. One of my earliest things that I learned from a mentor was at SOTA, Mr. Coggins, and he said, think outside the box. So I still say that today. Think outside the box. Find out what you love, like I said, and find out how you can do it to create wellness in your space. I have been honored to be approached by people, and specifically women that have gone through loss or that are new in ministry. In my role as a pastor, there's not a lot of female ministers, pastors. It's not a big space. And so for people to say, oh, you're an ordained minister, you've been, tell me how to do that. I met with a girl last week that said, I have a dream to be a pastor. I want to be in ministry. I have no idea where to start. So for me to say, okay, let's come out with a path with you, that was a wonderful honor. Other moms that are now like, hey, I've gone from 1 child to 2 children. What do I do? Other people that are in the creative space that say, hey, I'm interested in creating a new business. I'm interested in this idea. The idea of entrepreneurship for women, I'm really passionate about. And so I've been able to take things that I've learned in my parents' business. We've had business in town for 47 years. And now in this new season of business, opening a school, and then in the nonprofit sector of running a church, and say, what do you want to do? Like, what does business look like to you? When you say you want to give back with your business, what does that mean to you? Who do you want to give back to? What type of employer do you want to be? What type of business do you want to be? Do you want to have a storefront? want? Do you want to have an online business? And so those have all been answers that I've been able to navigate, to. And I think, speaking to women is so huge. And I'm a huge proponent of women championing women, because I think that we get labeled a lot as backbiting or, like drama or whatever. And I kind of go against, this is not going to be a popular opinion, but it's like girl boss. I can be a girl boss. I'm doing like, that's not really a thing for me. I just want, I think if you say that, you're not really a boss, right? Like I want women to feel like empowered to like who they are. No, you're not a girl boss. You're a Natalie. You're Vanessa. You don't see men walking around saying, I'm a man boss. No, you just see them like, I'm Christian. I'm Zach. I'm John. And they are working and living in their space, and women have the same opportunity. Like they are gifted with amazing different talents than men have. They have amazing insight. They have wisdom to give. And if I can encourage women specifically to walk in their God-gifted talents, to just be comfortable with who they are, to shut off social media, as hard as that is, to stop playing the comparison game, you get nothing from comparison. You only feel better about yourself and puff yourself up for this fake thing, or you feel negative about yourself. So I really, in this season of life, really want people to know, like, keep breathing, keep going. Woman, keep going, keep taking up room, take up space, be who you are. Don't worry about the label, but just find out your dream and like, let's figure out how to get to your dream, because everyone's capable of it. So.
Man, I love that so much.
Thanks.
Like removing the qualifier before,
Yeah.
right? Because I already am.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing so much of the word in your answers, right? Of like not puffing myself up or thinking more highly than I ought to, right? Or also not getting down on myself, right? Because whatever I think, then so I will be.
Totally.
And I'm just like, I'm really enjoying the responses that you're giving to these questions. And I preface that to say this, because I want to ask you a bit of a spicy question.
Ask away.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Okay. All right.
Come on.
I love it. No, I'm really interested, right? And a bit of a preamble, like I have some bad habits in my life.
Okay. We all do.
Yeah. Right. Like I'm the person who's known for like leaving things in my pants before they go in the washing machine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, and that has caused so much trouble and angst in my life. And created unnecessary problems in the places that I've wanted to go next. And so I'm curious, right? Like, either for yourself or folks who might be on this journey of mentorship or might be a mentee, what do you think are some habits that we have to let go of in order to get to maybe the next season that we're going? I'm hearing you taking people from A to B. What are some habits we have to let go of in the next place that we're going or the next place that we're called to be?
I think we need to start with habits to make ourselves better first. Sorry. But I think habits of twofold, personal and then like public habits, right? Your personal habits, I think you have to have just really great self-discipline. You got to set your alarm clock and get up at the regular time every morning, right? You have to make time for yourself to have quiet space, whether that looks like prayer for you or meditation or whatever space that you have to really set your day. You have to iron your clothes. You have to make your bed. There are self-habits, I think, and self-disciplines that just make you a better person overall before you present yourself to the public, right? Because the way that you grow is by keeping a promise to yourself first, whether that's, yes, I'm going to get up at this time. Yes, I'm going to go to the gym. Yes, I'm going to speak to this person. Yes, I'm going to stay sober. Yes, I'm going to quit smoking. Yes, you have to keep those promises to yourself first, and that builds confidence. So I think there are a lot of habits that we've gotten into in 2020, I think played a lot into that, of like work from home mentality, or I think people need to set a time, get up, start your day, have goals, be a goal setter. And then publicly, I think that we have to stop talking about so much about what we're against and start talking about what we're for. I think people get up in the morning and the tendency is to open your phone and start scrolling social media and liking this and tagging that and commenting on this. And, 99% of the stuff that we comment, I think on Facebook, we have no business commenting on. We're not in that person's life. We're not in that office. We're not in that business. And our first thought is, I'm not for this. I'm not for that. I'm not for you. Like, Let's stop talking about what we're against and start talking about what we're for. We're for the betterment of our community. We're for young people getting ahead. We're for everyone making a better life for themselves. We're for, championing other people. And it's easy to talk about what you're against. It's easy to be critical. And I think it's an easy habit that we've gotten into. It takes more effort to be a good finder. I really love that about you, Christian. I love the way you said that. I love this business. They're killing it. I love this person. Like, they're doing that really, really well. That takes some intentionality. And once you start to be a good finder, you can start finding more good. Good finds more good, finds more good. So I think personal starts with your own personal habits, and then public, use your voice for good and for what's happening, what you're for, instead of what we're against.
I love that term, finder.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard that before. I think that that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Be a finder of other things that are good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm increasingly becoming a fan.
Oh, good.
I'm curious for you, right? Like, you've mentioned a lot of people in the sphere, and I'd hate to, because we just talked about comparison.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to use a comparative word.
Okay.
But like, has there been like a key mentor in your life that changed the way that you operate and or think?
Oh, so there's been so many. I talked about John Cutler. That was a start of one. My pastor, Dean Curry, he has been an incredible mentor from, I went through a college program and for ministry and finished out my first 3 years. It was like a hybrid where you do off-campus internship. And I was going to a university. I'd been accepted to finish my 2 years at university. And he said, hey, I want to offer you this position. And it's a creative arts director, and church has never had it before. I think you'd be. And I said, oh, no, thank you. But I'm going to school. I've been accepted. And then he goes, why would you go to school right now to learn about the same job I want to give you right now? And I'm going to pay you to do it. It's like, give it a year, continue your online classes, and then see. And that was, for me, that's not everyone's choice, but that was good advice. And I grew from there and into my position that I have now. That was a huge voice for me. Another female pastor that I have, her name is Ava Bullison, and now she lives across the country. But she looked at me and she said, no one's doing what you want to do right now. Like, she was one of one at the time on our pastoral staff of a female. And she said, you want to do that and no one else is doing it. She's like, I'll help you get there. And, but let's talk about what you want to do. And I don't think I would be doing half of what I'm doing today if it wasn't her believing in me and me being able to see another woman go ahead of me and do that. And then there's another woman, Rachel Faulkner Brown. She's been widowed twice. She's now married for the third time. And I met her by serendipitous moment. I believe it was Holy Spirit led. But we met this summer for 3 hours. I was searching out other widows on social media, scrolling late at night because I wasn't able to sleep. And I came across this conference called Never Alone Widows. And then I started tagging around and I saw this woman. She had founded it. She had been widowed once by had a massive heart attack, and then a second died in military service. And she has now started this ministry and group for widows around the country that has thousands of women. And I messaged her and I said, I know you're not probably going to see this. I just want to thank you for what you're doing. This is my story. And the next morning I received a DM and she said, Melanie, I never read our social media. I felt led to go into our account today. I'm going to be in Seattle in 2 weeks. Can you meet me? I'm just going to be there for 24 hours. I said, yes. So we met up by the airport and I drilled her on every question that I had. She breathed life into me and she said, Melanie, your best days are ahead of you. This is what this means. Yes, you're going to have a great life. Yes, you're going to, it was someone that had gone ahead of me that knew what I needed in that moment. And she has been a voice. And I don't see her in person. We've only met in person once, right? Yeah. This is email, this is text, this is call. This is one meeting that's changed my life and the trajectory of my current season. And I'm so grateful for it. Yeah.
Man, forgive me for this analogy.
No,
but
go for it.
And I believe things to be ordered as well.
Yeah.
But there's like a bit of a Hansel and Gretel nature to your story, right?
Really? Okay, explain.
Right. So like the whole thing behind Hansel and Gretel is that they follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
To the places they're supposed to go next, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like, right, like you were the very last.
Yes.
to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Just like, no. And there's a series of crumbs, right?
Yeah.
And then you find yourself at SOTA.
Yeah.
And then the job that you're offered
Yeah.
after is creative director.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a series of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like, I feel like to just send this DM. And
Yeah.
I've never checked social media
Ever.
before,
Yeah, I know. It's
right?
wild.
But there's crumbs of a story that's left behind. There's a ministry that now exists, and
Yeah.
you didn't even know maybe at that time that you would need it, right? But like, it's really cool to see, right? And call it led, call it whatever folks need to in order for this conversation to resonate with them,
Yeah.
right? But there's a nature to it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, right? Like for you, in the state that you're in now, like we joked about being post-young before the internet started, for both of us being in that stage. Like, what are the crumbs that you're hoping to leave behind for other people? I think some folks might call this like a legacy or wisdom or lessons that you'd like to leave behind. Not just, right, for the people you're in direct contact with. You know, you've mentioned social media and email and all, right? Like what's the legacy that you're hoping to leave?
Oh, yeah, that's a big question. I'm hoping to leave a legacy of resiliency, of loyalty, of an attitude of we don't give up, we keep going. As long as there's breath in our lungs, we have purpose, and that there's more to do. There's always more to do. If there's another day that you're waking up for, that means there's more to do. And I believe that, yes, life is meant to be enjoyed, but it's also meant to be lived in abundance, which means not just living for yourself, but living for other people. And I hope that one day my children will say, she loved us, ferociously, that she put her family first, but that she also brought us along in her love for the city. Brand new decision. I'm deciding to run for office. I'm going to run for University Place City Council. Okay. And that's part of my dad's legacy too. But it's also now a fresh vision for me that I want to leave something behind for my children. When you have a loss, like my husband was 41, wasn't cancer, he had a heart attack and he was gone. So you're here one day and you're gone the next. And it really makes you think that could be anybody. It's at your front door, right? So you do think about legacy a lot and you do think about what you want to do. And for me, this city has been and community has been so important, prevalent into my life and building who I am. I want to leave something better than I left it, started with it. So, that's what would be mine.
Man, I love that. I have so many just questions about it because I feel like that puts so much in perspective. And, for the sake of time, I won't be able to ask you all of them. Those would just be my free game later. I think the place that I'd like to end, right, as we're thinking through this, is that we've talked about this mentor-mentee relationship. One of my brothers, his name is John Gaines. Absolutely love the way he describes. We've talked about the people in your life, right? And we've talked about the purpose in your life. And, right, I think it says a lot about something when someone experiences a place as young and finds themselves coming back to it in a role of service, right? I feel that way about Tacoma. Tacoma raised me, and now there's never a time where I won't be, and I'm curious, what is it about SOTA or the elements in particular, right, that brings you back? You've experienced this as a young person, right? What's bringing this form of Melanie back to being in service in this place?
Oh, everything. I mean, I say it all the time to people that, if I would have just gone through the traditional school system, it was fine. I wasn't thriving. It was like Melanie pre-SOTA school was Melanie in gray, all gray. And as soon as I got to SOTA, it was vibrant color because my world opened up and my ideas opened up. And I was no longer confined into just, you're going in this classroom, in this locker, in this hallway to the next classroom. For Melanie, I needed air in my lungs. I needed to be able to go to this building and move over here and interact with people. I loved being downtown. I loved meeting people that I would have never met because they didn't live down the street from me and they didn't go to my high school that they, in their district. It completely changed the game for me. My best friend to this day, his name is Javier. We met our sophomore year at SOTA, and we could not be more polar opposite people, okay? And he was a groomsman in my wedding. He's my best friend. If I was on the street stranded at 2 a.m. He lives in LA. I could call him and he'd be up here. I mean, so what SOTA gave to me was, I can't put into words. So I want to give back that way. I want to give students an opportunity to say, there's not just one path for you. There's not one size fits all. No two people are the same. So why should education be the same? And we want our students to thrive. And I want to see people not just have this gray, dull high school experience. Like, that's great. Some people do thrive in that environment, but to have all of the different tracks and availability to look at a person and say, what can make you the best student you can be? Let's put you in that environment. And to take a risk is huge. I interned with a Superior Court my senior year. I interned with Tacoma Art Museum. I acted at the first installation of the Glass Museum that was opening my senior year. I mean, I had so many cool life experiences in high school before I even got into life. I mean, I can't talk more about it, highly enough. So any little piece I can do, to be a part of it. I wish I could be a huge benefactor and buy a building and do all those things. You can only do what you can do. Yeah. But if I can give a couple of hours of time and wisdom and connection, I'll do whatever, because this school changed my life, and I'm forever grateful for it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm grateful that the path has led you to be Melanie in color.
Thanks.
I think we're all better because of it.
Thank you.
Melanie, I want to say thank you for taking the time to have the conversation. Thank you for all the things that you're doing in our community. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
On the campaign and your new journeys ahead of you.
Thank you.
And please keep leaving breadcrumbs for us to follow.
I'll do it. Yeah, thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you for being here.
Elements of Education is a 501c3 nonprofit organization in Tacoma, Washington, dedicated to changing public education to better serve the specific and diverse needs of students in our public schools. For more information about how you can support the work that we do, please visit elementsofed.org, or you can find us on Instagram at Elements of Education or on our website.